Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm going to get straight into the video and I'm just going to apologise by saying I'm so sorry there hasn't been a video for a few weeks. It's been really hectic here. Both John and I have started new jobs recently and they have been so full on, and there's been a few sort of family things going on, and so we've just had to sort of put the camera down and just focus on those things. But I'm back now and I'm aiming to get at least one video out a week, so keep watching. So in this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about prepping. Now, it's a question I often get asked a lot. Am I a prepper? I don't consider myself a prepper. I like to prep. I like to prepare, which means that I suppose I am a prepper, but am I not? I don't like a lot of the doom and gloom around it because it can give you a very sort of negative feeling. It can just make you feel like, oh, it's hopeless, it's hopeless. But I do like to be prepared. So yes, I suppose I am, and no, I'm not. So I'm a bit of both. I think there's probably an element of being a bit of a prepper in all of us. Anyhow, I thought I'd just talk about a few of the ways that I do prepare for emergencies and such. Now, a lot of this stems in me from, it was about 20 years ago that we moved to East Anglia in the UK. And we moved into a village. It wasn't completely cut off from anything, and we still had access to towns and things, but you did have to get into your car. Although not when we first moved in. When we first moved in, there was a pub, there was a post office with a shop, there was a bus, there was a telephone box. I'm trying to think, were there any other facilities? Anyway, there were all those facilities. So if I needed a pint of milk, I could go to the village shop. I could post my letters. I could get a bus into town. Well, over the time that we lived there, all of those went, and the pub has just about hung on. I think it's closed and it's opened and what have you, but it's just about hung on. But all the rest has gone. So that was one of the things that made me prep a bit more, that, you know, I did have to get into my car and go out to buy a pint of milk or whatever. But also, one of the other things that happened is that we used to get power cuts quite a bit when we moved in. It was probably the first 5 to 10 years, and then it seemed to get better. And that's because we had a lot of lower power lines, overhead power lines, with trees hanging over. So whenever there was a bit of wind, we'd get a power cut. And this happened regularly, and it made us quite anxious, thinking, oh, if it was windy, oh, are we going to be without power? So we then just sort of began getting a bit more prepared for these events. So, I mean, living rurally anyway, you tend to be a little bit more prepared for things, I believe. So one of the first things we always made sure we had was access to torches. So I keep numerous torches around. These ones I keep hanging up by the front door because they're quite small. You can chuck them in your pocket or whatever, but they're always by the front door should we need a torch for whatever it is. We had some neighbours quite close by then, and it was quite dark because there's no street lights. So, you know, I might need a torch just to nip round to the neighbours. So I'm in the kitchen now, and I always keep one up here as well. I could do with some more. Never have enough torches, but certainly all around the house we keep various torches. I also have always keep a stash of candles. So, I mean, I love candles anyway, and I've always got candles dotted around, but I've always kept a stash of tea lights. I do remember one particular Christmas, we had all gone, it was Christmas Eve, and we'd all gone to the village church for the carol service in the evening, as traditionally we always did. And the whole village turns out for this. It's absolutely wonderful. And traditionally what I always do is I cook a meal in the slow cooker. So it's lovely for when we get back. And I had cooked some jacket potatoes and things. Anyhow, during that service, we got home, there was a power cut. And it was probably one of the best Christmases we've ever had. Christmas Eve, should I say. We got back, the meal was all prepared because it had been in the slow cooker, so that was still lovely and warm. The potatoes, thankfully, had cooked. So we stuck all the candles on and we all sat down to our Christmas Eve meal by candlelight, having just been to the carol service. And then we all sat in the living room and chatted and just reminisced. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful experience that we've tried to actually recreate that every year since, just because it was just such a wonderful, wonderful time spent together without any distractions of anything. Anyway, I've digressed there a little. So yeah, we always keep candles. Now, yeah, here's a candle just for demonstration purposes. So we like to go camping for our holidays. We've camped for probably 30 years or so, pretty much since we've been together. Now, when we used to go camping, it was the cheap holiday. It was the holiday that people would go on because it was the cheaper form of holiday. It has become more expensive, but it's still cheaper than many other places. I think I've mentioned it in other videos, just how make sure you choose your campsite well, because there are lots of hidden costs you need to be aware of. Anyway, with camping, you get a lot of equipment that you need to take, and then we've gradually built that up over the years. So we do have a gas stove that we use when we go camping. We've also got a gas light that we use. That's what traditionally was used back then, but obviously there's more modern equivalents, but we've still got our old traditional ones, and obviously torches for that reason. We've also got, this is our electric one. I don't know if it will come up here, but this is our electric battery operated. Good one with a handle on it that I can just hang up somewhere. I can't find them at the moment. The house is a bit chaotic because we've got some builders in doing some work, and I must find them. But we've got fairy lights that we use as well, dotted around, especially for power cuts, because that's really useful. But something I invested in about a year ago, possibly, no, probably about 2 years ago, is an oil lantern. I've been a little bit scared to use it, but I will be using it this year. I'm just going to get it out. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I've got the oil to go in there, but that's just a thing of beauty anyway. But I've got one of these as another backup, I suppose, because if I run out of batteries, if I run out of candles, then I've got this as another backup. So I'm just making sure I've got lots of backup, because the main things I found you need during the power cut are lighting. You need lighting because you need to be able to see your way around. You need some way of heating your food. We were all electric in our previous house, so that was a real problem. We couldn't heat our food unless we got our camping stove out. What we did do is that occasionally my neighbours, because they had gas hobs, they would heat up something for us, or heat a kettle of water or something, because we weren't prepared in that way. So that was definitely something we needed to address. So in this house, I've got a gas hob, which it's falling apart. We do have a new one coming, and I was thinking, oh, do I go electric? Do I go gas? We've gone for gas, because if I get a power cut, I know I can still heat up my food, my water. So you need lighting. You need some way of preparing food and water, and you need warmth. The warmth, it is trickier. If you haven't got open fires or log burning stoves or anything, it is going to be tricky. Yeah, heating is going to be the other thing. So what we do, and we're very fortunate, we've got log burners. We have had a power cut in this house last year. What was it this year? Around, anyway, winter last year. There were quite a few power cuts, and I think over a number of days, it was going on and off over a number of days. So we put the log burner on. We all slept together in the living room where the warmth was, and that's how we kept warm, basically. So yeah, you need to be prepared for those things. Another really important thing that actually probably goes above all of these is make sure your house is in order. And what I mean by that is make sure it's tidy. Make sure there's nothing lying on the floor or in a place it shouldn't be, because when those lights go out, you don't want to have an accident. I was always really conscious of that. And even now I do it, I make sure just as it's getting darker that I've gone around and I've checked that there aren't toys around or random bits of stuff just lying around or whatever, because you don't want to have an accident, and that's really important. So I would just say keep on top of your housework, your cleaning, your tidying. Just try and keep on top of it, especially when you've got young children or if you've got elderly people. Yeah, you really don't want to be having an accident. And also, if there are power cuts, a lot of the time there's power cuts when the weather's bad. Well, access to emergency services may be difficult. We know access to emergency services is pretty challenging at the moment in the UK, so you don't want to add extra strain on that. So yeah, another thing to make sure that you are prepared with is make sure you've got some way of lighting your gas hob or your candles. I have, my husband laughed at me about this because how many have I got? I've probably got about 6 boxes of these. So it's not loads, but he said, oh, are you expecting an apocalypse? And it was kind of a bit funny because it was kind of, well, it's just a little bit of being prepared. I don't want to run out of matches. And this is the lighter for the gas hob. So make sure you've got some way of lighting your equipment. Also, don't forget your flask. Fill up your flask with water, just in case. And then if you don't use it, you can either use it for your cup of tea later on, before you go to bed or something, I don't know, but always fill up your flask. Hot water bottle. We seem to be down to 1 hot water bottle in this household at the moment, so I know what's going on the Christmas list for this house, hot water bottles. And I have mentioned in a previous video about what I do with my boiled egg. So I make a boiled egg. I take a boiled egg to work every single day. I love it. My daughter likes to take egg sandwiches. So what we do is we boil up the eggs in the evening. Then the water, as long as the egg hasn't exploded, from that boiled egg is reused, and I put it in my hot water bottle to keep me warm in the evening. So then the eggs are done for the morning, the hot water hasn't been wasted, and I can use it to keep me warm in the evening. So that's another little tip there. One other thing that I have had, I don't know, I know this has changed. I've had this for 10, 15 years, something like that. It's my storm kettle. I haven't used it that much, but I've recently got it out and started to use it again. And I'd forgotten God, I can really smell it actually. I'd forgotten as to how useful this is. I love it. And it's just so fantastic for heating water. For those of you that don't know what you do, you've got a little sort of dish at the bottom here. You put your twigs and things in there. You light them. There's some holes there for the ventilation. And in this bit here, you pour water. And the water fills up all around here, and the heat from inside there warms the water. It's so simple. It's a brilliant idea. And you can get things now where you can cook on top of them and things. I'd love some of those actually. That would be really good to have that, because then that would be another way of cooking. I know they've changed a bit. They've changed this bit where, because this is a cork that you have to pull out and stick in. And what I've found with this particular model is that there isn't anywhere to hang it. So, and a lot of the time, if it's outside, you don't want it on the muddy soil. So I tend to hook it over there, but it does get in the way a little bit. But anyway, this isn't a review on this or anything. I'm not sponsored in any way for this. This is just something I've had. But again, it's another way of making sure that when the power goes out, I'm prepared. So in answer to my question right at the start of the video, am I a prepper? I suppose I am a little bit, looking at all of this, but it is just that I like to be prepared. So maybe, yeah, maybe I am a bit, but not so that it takes over my entire life. Although I do enjoy being prepared like this. It gives me a sense of satisfaction, whether it's the way that I'm contributing to the household, if that kind of makes sense. We've got our different roles that we do in our household, and this is my way of making sure that I'm adding another contribution to the household by being prepared. But yeah, I will ponder the question more, but maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Anyway, hopefully I will see you again soon. Until the next video, bye.